Good evening and welcome to the Monday, September 20th edition of the Speedway Redevelopment Commission meeting. We will call the meeting to order and make introductions of the members that are here this evening. To my left is the Vice President, Jennifer Miller. To her left is our Secretary, Rhonda Schwartz. To her left is our School Liaison, Dr. Terry Reed. To my right is Member Gordon Rundle. To Gordon's right is our Executive Director, Tim Gropp. And in the audience, we have our Executive Assistant, Eder Lopez. And absent this evening is Member Barry Gardner. We have confirmed a quorum, and proper notice was publicly given for this meeting. I'd like to open it up to public comment. If anyone in the audience would like to step to the podium, lectern, and make any comments? All right, nobody jumping up, so we'll pass. Was there any emails or messages, anything that was sent in?
Nothing tonight.
Okay. Moving on to the next item on the agenda is consent of the regular session meeting minutes for August 16th of 2021. Those were previously distributed. Anyone see any errors? Need any corrections made to those minutes?
I already gave them.
Dr. Reed has already sorted that out. So
we're going to miss that.
Hearing none, we'll pass that with consent. And item number 5, the approval of the claims and expenses. Could you walk us through that, please, Mr. Gropp?
Sent these out prior to the meeting. Just a couple notes. I did mention we have a few outstanding invoices that haven't come in yet, so that's unusual for us. But we're tracking those down. We're not used to the income side of it, but it's nice to have that problem. But we hopefully can resolve that real soon. One of those related to parking, the other one related to an ongoing contract agreement with Allison Transmission, so we'll follow up on both of those. If you look at the budget versus actual, we're doing well, except for the one category, the utility services, which has been trending. We'll fix that next year. But the other one that's at its max is the legal services. And that will go over next time because we received another bill today. That is all related to the Wilshaw project, an ongoing issue there. We anticipate that being reimbursed for the most part through amendment number 4, assuming we get to that point here, hopefully in the next month. With that being said, even though we're high on those levels, if you look, we're at about 53% of our budget for the year, and with a majority of that being legal fees that will hopefully get reimbursed. So we're in pretty good shape. Nothing out of the ordinary other than that legal line item. Just looking through claims this time, nothing too out of the ordinary there. Some of our ongoing TIF projects, we had a couple marketing line items just kind of shifting. I think I mentioned it last time. We're starting to slowly buy some stuff with the new logo and the new branding. So, new ribbon for ribbon cuttings and new shirts and things like that. So, and this is the first time that we have just the single payroll this time. So, I don't think there's anything else that's out of the ordinary there, unless you have questions.
Does anyone have any questions with regards to the expense accounts, the claims as submitted? Hearing none, we'll entertain a motion to approve the claims as submitted.
I make a motion that we approve the claims as submitted.
I'll second.
We've got a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the claims as submitted, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes 4-0. And on to the next item on the agenda is the director's report. Mr. Gropp, would you like to give us an update?
Yeah, it is very busy around Speedway these days, which is a great thing. There's projects all over. My office is busy, but John Merritt's is 2 times as busy because he's out doing site visits and all these. So just kind of walking through the town. Founder Square, crew car wash is on schedule. They're installing equipment right now. I don't have an exact date, but we're anticipating them opening in October. On our end for Crew Car Wash, we had approved a contract to move a transformer that was on site that we needed to move off, which was part of our scope. And that has been moved. We're waiting for AES Indiana to pull the poles and then be out of the way. So they're actually burying all the lines on that side now, so there'll only be lines on the south side. So that's moving along well. We announced Freddy's Custard and Steak Burgers. I screw up that name every single time, so Freddy's is coming. And they have broke ground. They were anxious to go, so once that word got out, they moved equipment on site. We're kind of at that time of the year where everyone's trying to get their infrastructure in the ground and their footers in so they can work in the winter time. So they are moving and anticipate that one to move fairly quickly. And on that same note, the Hampton Inn has submitted plans, and we're currently in that process. They're looking to do an early October groundbreaking. More information to come on that once we set the details. Again, they want to get their site work moving so they can beat the winter conditions on that. So a lot of activity out there. I just want to remind everybody, please be aware, Aldi's is open. There's pedestrian traffic. There's also a lot of construction traffic that's kind of using both sides of the road. So just everyone keep your eyes open and be aware and be cautious when you're out at Founders Square. It's an exciting time, but we want everyone to be safe. If kind of coming down Crawfordsville Road, Harbor Freight, anyone going down there should see that. That should be open fairly soon. I don't have an exact date, but we'll push it out on social media. And then there's equipment on site for the new Bank of America site as well that was demoed there, kind of in front of Kohl's. So
The former CarX.
Yep, former CarX. So a lot of activity there. Coming down to Main Street, we had announced that 1400 block was going to get started, and just about like every other project out there, there's been some delays, some on our end, some of them you'll see on the agenda. We have a couple change orders. Digging into the project, we want to make sure this lasts and that our money's being well spent and we don't pave something that crumbles 2 years later. So we went back and walked the site a couple times and decided that there's some areas we want to actually reconstruct versus just kind of pave over. So I think that's money well spent for the long term, obviously with the caveat that if something came up on redevelopment, that project's still there, but there's nothing in the horizon. So I think there's going to be a few years here at least. So we want to make sure it lasts. We want to build it right. Money up front's better off than redoing it later on. The other part of that was the stamped concrete. So we, again, maintenance, upkeep, longevity of what we choose to replace the bricks with. The whole idea is to keep a smooth surface, be as ADA compliant as possible and not have the waviness and sinking that we have now. So we've met on site with the concrete contractors and took our time to make sure we get that right as well. I hope we do. I hope you like it. So we'll see. But from our indication, and then after all that, then the concrete contractors got delayed. So they're going to be on site next week. They're going to actually start demo because we take a big chunk of the sidewalk out where the new entrance is going to go, basically from the edge of Barbecue and Bourbon to the tax, I would say tax back. Is it tax time?
No, I think that's
Tax
right.
back. Tax back,
Yeah.
yeah. I confused myself. That area basically gets removed and reconstructed. So they're going to start some of that demo so they can start pouring. There will be signs, the sidewalk's closed, and that we'll be pushing people across the street at the corners. Same thing, 1300 block. We had a little cave in there when they were putting in the sewer. We had to close the sidewalk, so we're diverting people to the wet east side to kind of get around those blocks. So our intent is to do the on-street parking concrete work first and leave the parking lot open during that to minimize the impact to businesses. And then when the on-street parking is done, we'll shift and close the parking lot. The parking lot won't be closed very long. It's not a very long project there. So any questions on 1400 block? 1300 block, I mentioned we had to close the sidewalk. We had some issues there where there wasn't construction. We were working through some infrastructure redesigns. That has been, we're moving on from that. They have the sewer line in, they're working on the water lines, and they have released to get their footers in. So it won't be too long before we get foundation work moving on that. Their actually intent is to build the parking lot first, then stage from the parking lot and build the building. So they're getting set up. Everything seems to be moving pretty well. And we've been happy with working with the contractor there. They've been really good so far. So 10th and Cossell, we'll touch more here in a little bit. Everything's moving there. There's about 5 or 6 projects going on at Allison Transmission, so there's a ton of activity in that area. Our project will be an additional one in that area. It's just like every other construction project. We're going to have lead times on the poles, and then we'll touch base on the bid here. But, you know, I don't have a timeline for you. Everybody's really busy. We only received one bid today. We're probably going to rebid. We're definitely going to rebid that because we had an error in our bid notification, but we'll get back to that in a minute. And we're excited for that project. I just don't know what the timing is going to be at this point. And then Wilshaw. So they're moving along. I think we're really close to getting into the financing realm. They're waiting for Fitch to get the rating back. It should be any time. I'm frankly surprised it hasn't happened yet. In the meantime, the financing group has gotten the approval to move forward. They're putting their marketing together. They've had conversations with potential buyers, and all the loan documents and all the financing documents are put together. They'll just insert the rating, and Loftus assures us they can turn those documents around in about a week, and they're still hoping to close, if not by the end of the month, which seems unlikely at this point. It'd probably take a week or two to market the bonds out there, but hopefully in the very beginning of October. At that point, if all that happens, then we'll work backwards to get a date when we can expect to see somebody back on site. But we're hoping that happens here by the end of the year. So we'll keep you posted on that. I'm, as always, cautiously optimistic. But everything's kind of lining up, and we feel pretty good about it. But it's been a longer than expected time. It usually is, but we'll keep you posted. Any questions?
Any questions under the director's report? Thanks, Tim.
All right.
Appreciate
I'm
that.
sure I forgot something.
Good. Moving on to new business. First item of new business is the consideration of bids for 10th and Cossell Improvements. As you mentioned in your director's report, the public notice had the wrong address listed, correct?
Yes. Part of the moving pains, we accidentally put in there the annex address. We did send Eder over there today to make sure Uncle Bill's did not receive any bids. They did not. And I'm going to let Sean step up here and talk about who actually had responded. Ultimately, we got notice out to everyone that had the bid packets, and we did receive one bid. However, because of our error, we could probably move forward. There's probably not much concern, but the one bidder did express concerns about timeline and just how busy they are, which is kind of every contractor now. So I think it's advantageous for us just to take a step back and republish it and try it again in a month as well. But I wanted Sean to kind of talk about who you've talked to and what you're hearing out there.
So Tim, I had been in talk with Hoosier, James H. Drew, and Midwestern Electric. Plus, I had it out to a couple of plant holder companies to distribute it to as many signal contractors as possible. I'd been in contact with a couple others and just got an earful on everybody saying they're so busy right now and that materials are coming in so slow. So long story short, I think this kind of benefits us a little bit, might give us a little more breathing room. Getting this constructed really started now and working over the winter is not necessarily bad for a signal project. There might be some incidental work that might have to wait till spring to finish up, but you can get the signal pole foundations and signal poles erected in the winter time. So that, and I think there was still a couple of concerns about the power poles out there as far as relocation and scheduling and everything. And so I was like, well, we're kind of at the mercy there. So.
It's a very complicated area because there's a lot of different groups doing separate projects, trying to coordinate. So
I tried to get across that was going to be out of the way, but everybody was still looking at that as work being done. So other than that, I think if we do re-advertise, I think the bids should come in a lot better. So at least get some more bids in. So other than that, that's all I got.
So the intent's to republish and receive bids in another 2 or 3 weeks?
yep, we'll
No substantive changes other than the date?
we'll keep everything the same. We'll push it back out, and we'll bring it back at the next SRC meeting. So.
Any questions or comments? Obviously, nothing to consider with regards to that. Yeah, I know they're building a new fence there on the corner, new wall, I guess, not really a fence. It's definitely a masonry wall, so maybe that will be wrapped up by that point in time and give people some more confidence in it, so. Appreciate that update, Sean, thank you. And moving on to the next item, the construction management agreement for 10th and Cossell.
Yeah, so our contract was for design engineering, and which is what we have and have done through the bid process. We had asked First Group, who had done all the design engineering, to give us a proposal for going through the whole construction management. So taking the bids, getting the contracts in place, similar to what we did on all our other projects. We had Veritas do it on 1400 block, and they had, it typically makes the most sense to have the person that engineered the project do the construction management because we don't have a town engineer. So that's the proposal before you. They just simply amended their original contract to add in the construction management, and that's what's before you.
And that had a not-to-exceed number, right?
Yeah, actually, Sean, you were doing it on T&M, right?
Yeah, it was time and materials, so if we don't need it all, we don't use it all. So it more or less comes down to how responsive the contractor is on everything. We have some projects like this that we use maybe half of the contract amount, other ones where contractors kind of dawdle around, so.
Yep. Any questions in regards to that change or oversight? The construction management agreement? Hearing no questions, I'll entertain a motion to vote on the construction management agreement for the 10th and Cossell project.
Mr. President, I make a motion that we approve the construction management agreement for 10th and Cossell.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Motion passes 4-0. And look forward to getting those bids back and republished, and hopefully we can proceed with that in a timely manner. All right. And moving on to the next item on the agenda is old business. Change orders for 1426 Main Street.
I talked a little bit about this one as well. I just couldn't contain myself. As mentioned, the original scope of the parking lot was to simply take about 2 inches off and then repave it. After getting out there, if you recall, that lot was a tear down of a building and then an original parking lot, which was kind of in between Barbecue and Bourbon, the old family health facility. When we did that, and one of the reasons we're redoing this lot and reconfiguring it was we kind of patched in underneath where the building was, but we basically left the original lot the way it was. And if you go out there, you look, it's crumbling pretty bad, which means that you don't have good stone under there. It wasn't designed properly. So there's a swath kind of, which will be the east side of the parking lot, that needs kind of reconstructed. So dig it out, test the stone, and I don't know the actual term, sorry.
Compaction testing.
Compaction
Yeah.
testing, but also, I don't know, like some kind of cross weaving to make sure it holds up. I can't remember.
Like Like some geotech down there, yeah.
Geotech, yeah. Thank you.
We'll make it strong. They'll make it strong, right?
Yeah. To make
Strong
sure
and
it
durable.
lasts.
Strong and durable. That's what we're looking for.
In addition to that, we had the tree that needed to be moved where the new entrance is going to be. The original plan was to actually move the tree over. Getting into that, again, that tree happened to die, so we needed to take it out and then grind. So there's a change, there's a credit for some of that, but then there's an additional cost. And then the grates that are there need to be moved, which are, after digging into that a little bit, is a little more, it's going to take a little bit more concrete and time and labor because they're actually anchored into the actual curb. It's worth maybe looking at a different grate. Maybe there's something a little easier to install, something that will allow the trees to grow better. We can do that. I don't know what the lead times would be on that. It's the only concern there, but we can definitely take a look at it. We were just trying to use what was already there, but
Yeah.
I would agree that the grates that we have are not necessarily the easiest to handle and maintain, so. And then there's a secondary tree that when we walked the scope of the project, we need to move the tree that's kind of in front of Dawson's to the south a little bit. And so there's that additional cost as well. I had mentioned in my notes that part of the Dawson's agreement, because they have an agreement to utilize the right-of-way with the town for more permanent four-season room, if you will, was to handle the cost of that relocation. However, I would say it's significantly more than we thought it would be, just due to those items. So I have a call into Chris Hill, and we'll talk about it, and try to offset those costs a little bit.
Any additional questions? All work that needs to be done, so.
I think there's a long-term vision on Main Street to, we've decided to take the bricks out over time and tie them into projects. If you go down Main Street, they're sinking in a lot. It was not installed great, so I think over time to switch it to a more permanent look is going to look really nice. It's just going to take us a little time to do it.
Yeah, easier maintenance on the crosswalks and such as well, so.
Absolutely.
Very good. Any questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to vote on the approval for the change orders for 1426 Main Street.
Mr. President, I make a motion that we approve the change orders for 1426 Main Street, reconstruct sections versus overlay and relocation of tree.
I'll second that motion.
Hearing a motion and a second, we will proceed with a vote. All in favor of approving the change orders for 1426 Main Street, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Say aye. Motion passes 4-0. And final order of old business, approval of the contract with Alt Witzig for construction material testing at 1426 Main Street and 4735 West 16th Street.
Yep. So this is for construction material testing, as it states. This is actually there's a cost to this, but it's already built into what we've already approved. So no additional cost to this, but since it is a contract, I wanted to bring it forward to the SRC so that we have it on the record that we approve this contract. So that's all I have.
Fair enough. Very good. Any questions with regards to that? Hearing no questions, I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the contract with Alt Witzig for construction material testing.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the contract with Alt Witzig for construction material testing at 1426 Main and 4735 West 16th Street.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. We'll vote on the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say the same. No. Motion passes 4-0. And are there any additional comments or observations anybody'd like to make?
One more, sorry. I missed it in my, you guys thought you were getting out of here. Just noting that the road construction projects for this year are underway. And we've been working on adding the sidewalks with the Transportation Committee on Wolco and 25th Street, so that work should be starting really soon, and I think those are nice additions. We were able to work with Hermitage Apartments to gain the right-of-way we need, and all that's getting wrapped up. And like I said, I think those will be really nice additions to help safely get the public to the shopping areas and post office and whatnot. So be aware, just be kind to construction workers in the street. This is a lot of sidewalk work, so there will be lanes blocked. Be courteous, keep an eye out for them, and keep them safe.
Very good. Any comments? All right, hearing none, we'll adjourn with consent.